After question period today, the chair will be making a ruling with a purported point of privilege. Then in addition there's a request for an emergency debate, and we will see how that is handled. After that, the House will deal with written questions and motions for returns, and then the government motions for their backbenchers will involve one that's sponsored by the member for Dunvegan, dealing with the matter of certain statements being provided to all people using the healthcare system so they know what the exact cost of their billing is at the time that the operation or medical practice is indeed undertaken. At 4:30 today, Bill 203 will be debated as sponsored by the member for Calgary-McCall, an act to create a commission to examine legal reform in Alberta justice system. This evening, when the House reconvenes at 8 o'clock, they will be dealing with estimates, and the Department of Agriculture will be the department under examination. Albertans, we give thanks for the precious gifts of freedom and peace which we enjoy. As members of this legislative assembly, we rededicate ourselves to the valued traditions of parliamentary democracy as a means of serving both our province and our country. Amen. Amen.
Introduction of visitors.
Deputy Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I'm pleased to introduce to you and through you to members of the Assembly two distinguished Canadians who are seated in your gallery. They are Monsieur Roger Tassé and Mr. Phil Fraser. Both are members of the Spicer Commission, the Citizens Forum on Canada's Future. They are, I've had brief discussions with them today to bring them up to date on what is happening with respect to the Alberta Select Committee on the constitutional future of Canada, and I would ask that members of the Assembly provide them a warm welcome today.
Presenting petitions. Reading and receiving petitions. Presenting reports by standing and special committees. Notices of motions.
The member for Calgary Northwest.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to give notice that following question period today pursuant to Standing Order 30, I will move to adjourn the ordinary business of the Assembly to discuss the urgent matter of the situation with regard to the announced closure of the Magnesium Company of Canada plant in southern Alberta and the need for an immediate moratorium on business subsidy programs until a complete independent review of the decision-making process of loans and guarantees is completed.
Introduction of bills.
The member for Edmonton Glengarry, Leader of the Liberal Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg leave to introduce Bill 276, a bill entitled the Agricultural Resources Conservation Board Act. Mr. Speaker, as the supply of agricultural land is finite, this bill establishes the Agricultural Resources Conservation Board that will minimize the transfer of good agricultural land for other than agricultural purposes. And the bill will stimulate the development of agricultural practices that will protect and recover land. Thank you.
The Honourable honourable member for Edmonton Glengarry has moved first reading to Bill 276, Agricultural Resources Conservation Board Act. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say no. Carried.
Bill number 276, Agricultural Resources Conservation Board Act, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Decor, is now read a first time.
Member for Vegreville.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request leave to introduce Bill 243, an act to prevent discrimination against married couples seeking farm financial support. This bill recognizes that couples actively involved in farming are discriminated against on the basis of their marital status, and instead of treating it as a laughing matter, it seeks a simple, effective legislative remedy.
Good.
The honourable member for Vegreville has moved Bill number 243, an act to prevent discrimination against married couples seeking farm financial support. Those in favour of first reading, please say aye. Aye. The chair looks forward to anticipation as to what happens to this bill. Those opposed, please say no. The motion barely carries.
Bill number 243, an act to prevent discrimination against married couples seeking farm financial support, introduced by the honourable member, Mr. Fox, is now read a first time. Order. Tabling returns and reports.
Minister of Recreation and Parks.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I rise to table 4 copies of the annual report of the Alberta Recreation and Parks for the year ending March 31st, 1990, as required by statute.
Thank you. Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, I am pleased to table the annual report of the Mental Health Patient Advocate for the year January 1 to December 31, 1990.
Thank you. Additional? Thank you.
Introduction of special guests.
Member for Edmonton Gold Bar, followed by the Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm honored today to introduce 2 classes from the Waverley Elementary School. They're grade 5 and grade 6 students, Mr. Speaker, 46 in total, accompanied by their teacher, Miss Sherry McIntosh and Mr. Del Scarrett. I'd ask them to rise and receive the welcome of the Assembly.
Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to introduce to you and through you today 2 important people and friends of this province from the territories of the Yukon. The Minister of Justice, Ms. Margaret Joe, and one of her officials, Ms. Liz Lang. They are in the province of Alberta viewing some of the correctional facilities of the Solicitor General's Department, as well as conferring with a number of people that operate in the criminal justice system. If they would please rise, I would ask that the Assembly welcome.
Member for Dunvegan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure today to introduce to you and through you to Mr. Harold Peterson, Chairman of the Fairview Hospital Board. He is seated in the Memories Gallery, and I ask him to rise and receive the warm welcome of the Assembly.
Edmonton Beverly, followed by the Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased today to introduce to you and to members of the Assembly 46 bright and eager students from the Rundle School in Edmonton Beverly. They're grade 5 and 6 students studying government, and they're visiting with us today. They're also accompanied by their teacher, Ms. Stanson, Mr. Leknowski, and Ms. Andrus. They're sitting in the public gallery. I'd ask them to rise and be received by the Assembly.
Minister of Energy.
Mr. Speaker, for the second time this week, there are a group of students here today from my constituency, and the students are from the Community School of Dr. Egbert. in the community of Marlborough Park. They're here to see our government in action, and I'd ask them to stand and be recognized by the Assembly.
Additional. Thank you. Ministerial statements. Oral question period.
Mr. Speaker, it's obvious I go to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Whoops, there goes the so-called balanced budget, Mr. Speaker. Whoops. Today, the majority partner in the magnesium smelter project in High River announced that it would be commencing the orderly shutdown of the facility, leaving, Mr. Speaker, the taxpayers of Alberta on the hook again, this time for $103 million. $103 million, Mr. Speaker. Now, I want to say to this minister and this government, taxpayers are frustrated and they're angry with this government's incompetence and mismanagement of the economy. The bungle government, Mr. Speaker, another corporate welfare failure program. My question to the minister is simply this. Will the minister at least now admit to Albertans that they are going to lose at least $103 million in taxpayers' funds, Mr. Speaker?
Mr. Speaker, the honourable member indulges in NDP economics. When you have an asset worth some $200 million, you have a government exposure of some $100 million, our exposure is guaranteed on a 2-to-1 ratio. Where the honourable member suggests that we're going to lose $100 million is utter stupidity. It's utter nonsense. We indicated in our news release, and the provincial treasurer and I exposed ourselves to the media in a very open manner, whereby we could be accountable as it relates to this issue, and we indicated that there could be an ongoing cost as it relates to interest somewhere in the vicinity of $12 million per year. But for the honourable member to suggest that we're going to lose $100 million is just not factual, as anticipated losses quite easily could be nothing, and we happen to believe they will be nothing.
Well, I almost want to comment about exposing themselves to the media, Mr. Speaker, but I'll stay on the question. Mr. Speaker, this is total and absolute nonsense. Total and absolute nonsense to say that you have $2 million in assets, Mr. Speaker. The senior vice president of the majority partner in this project says the project is not viable, never will be, and furthermore, the technology hasn't worked. The bottom line is that $200 million in assets is basically worthless, Mr. Speaker. That's the reality. And I want to say to the minister, isn't it true that we now, the taxpayers of Alberta, now own a magnesium plant in High River that has technology that doesn't work, is 1/5 complete, and $103 million in debt, in which a majority partner says is not viable? Isn't that the reality?
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to do my utmost, notwithstanding the distortion of facts that continuously comes from the leader of the New Democratic Party, to be very direct with him. Let me share with him that is a distortion of the facts. MAGCAN did not indicate that. They indicated that because of the increased dollar, because of the lower than anticipated price for magnesium, and because they had greater operating costs in the startup of this plant, it is for that reason they did not wish to involve themselves for a longer period of time before the economics proved to be correct. I have had indications, once this became public by the company, when they indicated that they were not going to continue to invest in the MAGCAN plant, I have had a major automobile manufacturer from North America call me and indicate that they are very bullish as it relates to magnesium production because they are going to require more of it within the production of their own vehicles. The viability is there, but it's not there for a number of years, and that is why the present participants have decided to pull back. But for the honourable member to suggest that there is no viability within this plant is totally inaccurate.
Mr. Speaker, it's totally inaccurate that this thing is worth $200 million in assets. The minister's well aware. That private sector company would have stayed there if that was the case, Mr. Speaker. Let's not kid anybody about that. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, the bottom line is this. There's two choices, and I want to ask which the government's going to do. Two choices. Either finish building the plant and throw millions more in, or give it to another company and throw millions in, or walk away with a $103 million loss. Those are the two choices. Which is it going to be, Minister?
Mr. Speaker, there are a number of options available to us. The option that we are going to accept is to make sure that we have the greatest realization of this plant, which is a very important component of diversification of this province, as we do with all of our investments. We've got the first priority, the realization of assets for the Alberta taxpayers. We're going to do our level best to make sure that we can see this plant come back on stream after a period of interim parking when the viability is there. But to suggest that there's only two options, that's not correct whatsoever.
Second main question, Leader of the Opposition.
All the same story again, Mr. Speaker. My second question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Premier. This government shows Albertans time and time again where its priorities lie. Hundreds of millions of dollars, Mr. Speaker, for its corporate friends, while it slashes much-needed benefits to the people like the seniors of this province, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say to the Premier, especially since his comments the other day, I've been receiving countless phone calls from seniors who are worried and angry, many of whom are particularly upset that they will no longer receive any assistance for the purchase of non-prescription drugs, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say to the Premier, given that this government slobbers at the chance to throw money at the corporate sector, how does the Premier justify slashing medicine coverage for the seniors of our province?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's interesting that because we've had this discussion just this week already, and I drew the attention to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Now, if he just looks at the information in the budget, he will see that there is an increase in funding for senior citizens. It's over $1.2 billion. Now, if he looks at the budget, he'll notice that those things that are plus are increased. Those things that are minus are reduced. I hope he's able to handle that. If he looks at the health budget, he'll see that it's increased. It's not cutbacks in health, they're increased. He looks at education, you'll see it's increased. If he looks at environment, you'll see they're increased. Those are the key priority areas to the people of Alberta. Those are the programs that we are strengthening, and we are, by strong fiscal management, coming through with a balanced budget this year.
That's a laugh. Only this Premier would have the gall after they've thrown $103 million away to say that they still have a balanced budget. That's right. What an absolute joke. Mr. Speaker, I want to come back to this Premier who doesn't realize that individual seniors are being hurt. They're insulted by your comments, Mr. Speaker. They're much smarter than the Premier. They know that they're getting less, Mr. Speaker. Now, I asked specifically about the medicine coverage, the non-prescription medicine coverage, and I get song and dance, Mr. Speaker. But I want to say to the Premier, this is the crux of it. He is likely not aware, Mr. Speaker, that the National Council on Welfare states that the maximum income a senior living in Edmonton can receive from the government is already well under $2,000 below the poverty level, Mr. Speaker, already before these vicious cuts, Mr. Speaker. And I want to ask the Premier then, what does the Premier then have to say to those seniors who are calling us, who say his government is pushing them deeper and deeper into poverty? What does he say to them?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as a matter of fact, I'm pleased to speak to seniors, and I spoke with hundreds and hundreds on the weekend, as a matter of fact. Yes, they were part of thousands and thousands who came to a little meeting that we had on the weekend. And Mr. Speaker, they acknowledge that this province has the best senior citizens programs in Canada. Nobody comes close. And they also know that the details that the Minister of Health gave just the other day are the kind of things that must be done. And the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has now heard it 2 or 3 times, and it isn't sinking in. I'll ask the Minister of Health to once more give them an education about the sharing programs that are being provided in this province.
I want to say to this Premier that rich Tories going to a convention do not speak for the seniors of Alberta. Mr. Speaker, the question to the Premier is simply this. $103 million to give to their corporate friends and go in debt over there, but no money for the seniors, Mr. Speaker. They know this is an absolute outrage. And I want to ask the Premier this. Will the Premier for once, Mr. Speaker, commit himself and do the right thing? Will he reverse this attack on Alberta seniors and immediately restore the benefits which this outrageous budget has taken away from them, Mr. Speaker? That's the bottom line.
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, we have to come back and straighten the honourable member out. Right. There is no loss of $103 million. We have an asset of some $200 million protecting a liability of 100. Now that's a 2-to-1 coverage. No, I know he's never been in business and doesn't understand assets and liabilities, but we can at least draw that to his attention. Secondly, if you'll look at the budget, he'll see that seniors funding has increased. Right. Now I don't know, even this member, I think, can handle that when seniors program funding increases, they are not being cut back. That's right. Now that's something that is so basic, you'd think he'd be able to understand it. So we got to knock aside those silly allegations that his research people keep giving him and straighten them out. Do your own work, right? And the Minister of Health perhaps should straighten them out because she's done it already once this week.
Okay. Well, very briefly, Honourable Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important when the Honourable Leader of the Opposition suggests that we should go back to the former programs, let us put on the table what he's suggesting. He's saying let's take off that enhancement of $13.5 million with respect to updated coverage under aids to daily living. Let's not give that extra $10 million in home care. Yes, there have been adjustments, but this was a budget of choices, and we...
Thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister. I would have thought, Honourable Members, that yesterday we went through a little interesting exercise in an attempt to try to quieten the House down. I'm sure you'll be able to learn the wisdom of yesterday and quiet the House down a little bit so we can at least hear what's going on. Thank you, Honourable Member. I don't need any extra cat calls. And now we'll move on to the member for Edmonton Glengarry.
Speaker, when Albertans get the opportunity of examining the statements that the Premier made yesterday and the Minister responsible for economic development made yesterday and today with the facts of this but yet another failure, they won't believe what they read and hear. We have a government that keeps telling us about the success of their diversification program, and another company goes down. We see in the world a movement towards privatization, but this government's going the other way. We now have the People's Cellular Telephone Company, or Cellular Phone Company rather, the People's 1 and 2 Meat Packing Companies, the People's Steel Company, the People's Magnesium Company, and there's some $2 billion in loans and loan guarantees and probably more difficulty down the road. My first question to the Premier is this. Premier, I know that you have now had the opportunity of examining these failures, and I would like the Premier to tell this Assembly where the mismanagement occurs. Is it in his office, is it in the Minister's office, or is it everywhere in your offices?
Well, Mr. Speaker, just implicit in the very question shows you the timidity of the view of the Liberal Party. Here is a party who deals only in failures. They have no sense of the strength or the health of the Alberta economy. And what we have done and it's evident because all you have to do is compare Alberta to the rest of Canada or the rest of and North America, and what do you find? People are streaming into this province. Why? They're streaming into this province because it's the only part of North America that has a strong economy. It's expanding. The people are working. We have the lowest unemployment. There are jobs for Albertans, the lowest taxes, and sure, we're not timid. When you take on a massive restructuring, you know there are going to be some failures, some mistakes. But that isn't a reason not to even start. And we started, and we have been able to make it happen. And there's where the Liberal leader doesn't seem to have the sense of the big picture. I mean, here we have the strongest economy in North America, and he's talking about failures. Right. The only failures around here have been the Liberal Party.
Here. Mr. Speaker, I didn't expect to get an answer. I was looking for a common thread so that Alberta taxpayers' monies wouldn't continue to go down the tube and be lost. My question the second question to the Premier is this. I wonder, Mr. Premier, we wrote to your government in February asking for the tabling of documents that relate to this particular magnesium company and the involvement of Albertans in it. Will you pull your wheelbarrow out, Mr. Premier, and fill it full of the documents and agreements that relate to the Alberta taxpayers' involvement in this magnesium company? Will you fill that wheelbarrow?
No. Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party still doesn't seem to have figured out how to get a motion for return on the paper and through the House. Now, I can't help it if he's sloppy at preparing them and doesn't carry the argument. That's not my responsibility, that's his responsibility. As far as the wheelbarrow goes, I think I've got that working hard right now on a farm.
Mr. Speaker, this is a letter that his own minister signs declining to give any information up on this particular magnesium company. Declines to give that information to Albertans. And Albertans are going to be fooled. They don't know what the problem is. They don't know where the mismanagement is. They don't know what the facts are. When is this nonsense going to stop, Mr. Premier? When are you going to tell Albertans the facts and treat them like adults? When?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't know where the Honourable Leader of the Liberal Party has been today. The ministers released a two-page press release. They've been discussing the matter with all of the available media outlets. The information is out. The company itself is making information available. How come the Liberal leader is the only guy in Alberta doesn't seem to have any information these days? Must be that research group of his or something. I don't know, but surely they can do a little better job than that, Mr. Speaker.
Final. We have three of them. Sometimes the fellow gets lost up here. Member for Highwood, followed by Edmonton Jasper Place.
Speaker, my question today is to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. Mr. Speaker, I'm sure that I speak for most people in Highwood who take no joy in the temporary closure of the Magnesium Company of Canada's plant located near High River. And I think when you're in a period of difficulty, you want to look to what is the future, what can we bring to this situation. So my question, Mr. Speaker, is to the Minister. Will the Minister assure the people in Highwood and in the province of Alberta that he'll actively seek investors who have experience and who are working in light metal production to reopen the magnesium plant and thereby encourage the secondary plants to locate nearby that have been busy looking at possible locations in that area?
Mr. Speaker, I'm more than happy to leave the honourable member from Highwood with that assurance and to indicate to him my appreciation for the sensitivity that he is showing to the individuals that are employed at that plant, because it is...
Excuse me, Honourable Minister. Member for West Loch Sturgeon. We went through this yesterday. We're not going to go through it again today. Yesterday you had 8 different warnings before you were out of the House. That will not be allowed that latitude today. Minister?
Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to leave the honourable member that assurance because it weighs heavily on us also as it relates to this plant, because we do have a considerable amount of compassion for those individuals who do rely on that plant for employment. It's noteworthy, though, and it's important to reinforce that this was a decision by the company. The company had made that decision. The provincial treasurer and I are now working on contingency plans whereby we have had indications of private sector interest already. I had a call from a major U.S. company this morning after the announcement was made by MAGCAN. We have individuals within our department, too, that are going to actively pursue additional private sector participation, recognizing again the importance that this company plays to the individual constituency and also to Alberta as a whole.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that will be of some comfort to the constituents. I'd like to ask my supplementary question to the Minister of the Environment. Could the Minister tell the constituents of Highwood that his department, the Department of Environment, will ensure that the wind down of the MAGCAN plant will take care that the dangerous chemicals will be safely stored in secure containers until the plant reopens, or that such chemicals will be safely disposed of?
Well, Mr. Speaker, the reclamation of the site is entirely the responsibility of the company. Indeed, all environmental matters must be addressed to the satisfaction of the Director of Standards and Approvals, and we will be happy to give assurances to the honourable member that indeed all environmental factors will be addressed and the site will have to be restored to an environmentally safe state.
Edmonton Jasper, please. Mr. Speaker, I would like to pursue the question of these loan guarantees with the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. There have been, aside from some short-lived and largely fruitless efforts to deny the facts, the Minister has generally taken the approach that the government is getting out of loan guarantees, a new economic policy, go forth and sin no more. And I wonder if, it seems to me this posture is almost entirely fictitious. The provincial government's in the process of executing loans and loan guarantees in the amount of $1.1 billion in support of 6 pulp projects. In the past few weeks, several pulp and paper companies have announced major losses and declining income as a result of declining demand for virgin fiber newsprint. Alberta Newsprint Company, the only newsprint producer in Alberta, is shut down because of poor market demand. I would like to know, in view of the Minister's record of 31 major failures on loan guarantees, can he advise the Assembly, if he's phasing out loan guarantees, why he's propping up increasingly shapy pulp projects with taxpayers' funds?
I appreciate, Mr. Speaker, that the honourable member referred to the document that they released to the media yesterday, whereby they highlighted some of the activities that we were involved in. And I should share with honourable members that this document does not reflect whatsoever the historical data of our involvement over the last number of years. They simply have selected those companies that they deem have not done well. And let me just stress again that they have not highlighted any of those who have repaid their loans, those companies that have discharged their guarantees, or those companies in which we have investments and have proven good. Mr. Speaker, just to highlight that, I wish to refer to their page whereby they go through a further 9 companies. And the only reason I raise this is because they're doing a serious disservice to those 9 companies by creating a psychological impact of failure when that is not evident. The honourable members asked for a response. I hope they'll be kind enough to allow me to give it to them. Because I wish to deal with 6 of the 9 companies they have listed. Centennial Food Corporation, no losses anticipated there. Smoky River Coal, again, the anticipation is of no loss. Fletcher's Fine Food, no losses anticipated. Alberta Intermodal Services, I've indicated on a consistent basis I've indicated on a consistent basis to the member from Kingsway that we're going to privatize this and we're going to realize all our assets. And I'm sure that we can do that. And for them to say, and VenCap Equities, another company, Mr. Speaker, that has no financial difficulty whatsoever, the distortion of the facts is simply disgraceful, especially as it relates to the harm that this party is bringing to viable companies within the province of Alberta.
I see we're back to denial, Mr. Speaker, but it really has nothing whatsoever to do with the question that I did ask. I wonder if I could return to another aspect of it. Most of the loan guarantees have been issued so far involving the recipients going out and arranging their own loans with private financiers, and then the taxpayers are exposed if they fail to repay the loans. In the case of Alberta Pacific, the government is now borrowing the money on the market in its own name, loaning it to Mitsubishi Corporation. The interesting thing is that the company doesn't have to pay anything back if, as, and until they start to show a profit on their books, Mr. Deputy Premier.
Oh, well, it's through business game.
My question to the minister is simply this: in view of his 48% strikeout percentage, can he explain how the taxpayers might be better off with this new type of loan, where we borrow the money and wait and see if the company pays it back, as opposed to the old type where he's... Thank you. Thank you.
It's quite apparent that many members in the House don't know how to ask a supplementary question at all, let alone a succinct supplementary. And when we get to this one, which has not only a comment, preamble, and then we're now on subset 3, that's more than enough. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, with your consent, sir, I would ask my colleague, the Minister of Forestry, to supplement my answer in that he was very instrumental in putting together this financial package. But I should indicate to the honourable member who put the question that the thoughts in which he's just conveyed now do not hold true to the some 1,500 people that came out to the meeting yesterday, of which I attended, whereby they're delighted that they do have this opportunity for further diversification in the province of Alberta, which will create meaningful jobs and employment for Albertans in the province of Alberta. He might not be concerned about jobs, but we sure are.
Very briefly. We're for the people.
Mr. Speaker.
We're for the people.
Mr. Speaker, we as a government are extremely proud of the diversification and the creation of jobs in northern Alberta, and I find it unfortunate that the honourable member for Jasper Place would cast aspersions on the companies in this province, saying that they are in some difficulty in the pulp and paper side, because frankly, Mr. Speaker, they are not in any difficulty in this province. That the cyclical price of pulp was taken into account in each of the guarantees as it was placed, and the province does well on the guarantees because each one has a guarantee fee.
Thank you. Member for Westlock Sturgeon.
Mr. Speaker, keeping quiet was killing me. This is to the Minister of Public Works, Mr. Speaker, my old friend. Recently, in the last few months, Mr. Speaker, the Public Works Department put out a bid for 121 panel delivery trucks, which is about a $1.7 million order. But in the order, Mr. Speaker, they asked for captain seats, bucket seats, and air conditioning. That adds a little over $200,000 to the order. What I'd like to know, Mr. Speaker, is could the minister justify to this House in this time of restraint where we're cutting back in hospital and medical care amongst other areas, why he would want to spend over $200,000 for frills like bucket seats and air conditioners on panel delivery trucks?
Mr. Speaker, at the outset, the government of Alberta is not cutting back on health care assistance. In fact, the budget that was tabled just a few days ago, Mr. Speaker, shows a commitment to health service costs in the province of Alberta of well beyond $3.3 billion. And Mr. Speaker, that's quite significant when you consider that the population of the province of Alberta is 2.5 million people. A rather hearty investment. Mr. Speaker, all services that are required of the province of Alberta are tendered in the province of Alberta. I'd like to point out as well to my honourable friend from Westlock Sturgeon that we've recently published a new magazine called Source, which makes available to all entrepreneurs in the province of Alberta an opportunity to bid. And what the Department of Public Works Supply and Services does is receive submissions on behalf of all agencies of the government who request us to tender. And we tender and provide those tenders in behalf. If the honourable member from Westlock Sturgeon would be kind enough to convey to me specific concerns about a particular item, I'd be happy to let you do it. It may very well be that some of the vehicles are required for law enforcement officers where there's a safety concern associated with the type of vehicle, the type of seat, and the type of configuration of the vehicle. There may be some the vehicles may be available for the service of handicapped citizens or disabled citizens. It may very well be that there's a direct correlation in dealing with that. Some of the vehicles that are required, of course, are for hospital and healthcare facilities in the province, and it would seem to me that if we would want to make sure that patients being conveyed from one healthcare facility to another healthcare facility would want to be conveyed in comfort, and it may very well be a requirement for air conditioning units in the southerly part of the province of Alberta, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, I think farmers and many other groups in this province be interested in knowing that the minister wants to make sure the prisoners are air conditioned before they're hauled off to the cooler where they should have lots of time to cool off. Mr. Speaker, further to that question, then could the minister table in this House the bid letter that went out for these delivery trucks, just so the House could see the foolishness involved in this effort?
200. Mr. Speaker, the bid in question is a public document. Mr. Speaker, when you put out a bid document, you put it out to any entrepreneur, not only in the province who would want to get it. So a question of having to table it, Mr. Speaker, would seem to me would be an absolutely redundant usage of time, space, and equipment. The document is available. Mr. Speaker, I do want to repeat, Mr. Speaker, that when vehicles and all the commodities purchased by the government, there are requirements, the requirements on behalf of healthcare facilities, requirements on behalf of what our incarceration facilities might have, and there is a story behind each and every one. I think it's unfortunate that the member from Westlock Sturgeon, again, in his attempt at wit, would try and ridicule what may be very much be a very important need for people who may need air conditioning, Mr. Speaker. And I would be very, very happy to deal with each and every item that the honourable member would want to bring to my attention. And as far as the document, one more time, Mr. Speaker, it is a public piece of information that is easily retrievable from the Department of Public Works here in Edmonton today or in a variety of other issuing offices throughout the province of Alberta.
Rocky Mountain House, followed by Edmonton Kingsway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this government has treated municipalities as partners in providing services to the citizens of their constituents. One of the programs that have been used as a vehicle to do this is the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Assistance Program. This program allows the province to pay a percentage of the cost of putting in facilities like wells, raw and treated water storage facilities, wastewater treatment facilities, and outflow sewer facilities. I've noticed that there's a major change in the formula, and one town in my constituency now is down to 43.72% of the cost the province is going to pick up. To the interim Minister of Transportation and Utilities, what is the rationale in this major change in the formula that's caused this shift in support to various municipalities?
Mr. Speaker, yesterday I issued on behalf of the Minister of Transportation and Utilities a statement with respect to the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Program and the rules that would go into effect as of April 1, 1991. And in essence, Mr. Speaker, what the government has done is reallocated dollars within that existing program that will soon be evaluated and debated by the Legislative Assembly to ensure that smaller communities in the province of Alberta have greater access to the dollars that are available for water and wastewater infrastructure. And the major change, Mr. Speaker, is that prior to April 1, communities of a population of less than 1,000 were allocated dollars on a per capita grant. We've now changed the basic formula to ensure that those communities of 1,000 or less in population would now be eligible for a grant from the province of Alberta in the neighborhood of 75% of the cost. Mr. Speaker, that's part of the ongoing commitment that this government has towards the quality of life of all citizens in the province of Alberta, irregardless of where their communities are and irregardless of the size of their community.
Thank you. To the same minister, I understand there's a penalty associated with the grant if the municipality doesn't put in place conservation measures, and I would assume that that means water meters. Given the fact that one of the major cities in the province of Alberta doesn't require water meters, how do you rationalize that part of the program?
Mr. Speaker, the program in question is available to all communities in the province of Alberta with a population of 45,000 and less. And the major city that the honourable gentleman is referring to is the city of Calgary, which of course does not have meters and metering of water for water consumption. Mr. Speaker, one of the key parameters of the program that was enunciated yesterday is a water conservation element with respect to it. And those communities in the province that do not have water meter usage or do not have a system to implement a rate structure based on consumption could receive a penalty in the grant of upwards of 10%. In essence, the bottom line of this is to encourage water conservation and water preservation, Mr. Speaker.
Edmonton Kingsway.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My questions are to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade. The Minister knows full well that there are all sorts of ways to create jobs without throwing good money after bad, as this government did in the case of Glacier Ammonia Limited of Pincher Creek. The government promised to advance them $4.3 million and actually did give them $2.9 million before the company went under. Now the assets have been written off and the jobs are gone. Will the minister confirm that the loss to the taxpayers of this province will be over $2 million in this mess?
Mr. Speaker, it is a little too early to assess as to what the loss will be. I acknowledge to the honourable member there will be a loss. We involve ourselves, if I can share with him why, and I'm sure he'd have great sympathy as to why we did involve ourselves with it, because we involve ourselves in specific areas throughout the province in the event that there are depressed areas. And we acknowledge that we have an obligation to make sure there is equal opportunity throughout the province of Alberta. There is going to be a loss, Mr. Speaker, but to indicate that figure at this time is far, far too premature.
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's lots of ways for regional development better than this way. In fact, the government's judgment, bad judgment, is really quite startling. This government already knew when they promised to advance the money that this company had $65 million in private debentures out, 60 million of which was at 30% to 3 foreign banks. Now, yet the minister just pushed blindly on. Will he confirm that as late as the spring of '89, that he was willing to lend this company $6.2 million of taxpayers' money at 8%?
Mr. Speaker, if the honourable member wishes specific details, I'm more than happy to offer him the specific details if he would put it on the order paper. But I should indicate to the honourable member, and I appreciate again that they're not worried about jobs or the development of this province. We recognize an obligation, and if they want to go through a superb document that the Minister of Technology, Research and Telecommunication put out about the importance of high technology in this province and the role that it plays in the creation of jobs and the companies that we have helped because of our investment. There are some 1,200 high-tech companies in the province of Alberta that provide meaningful employment for our young people. They're listed in this document. If the honourable member is willing to put a positive face on what is taking place in this province, as the population is, I would suggest this to him as worthwhile reading.
Edmonton Calder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, since last fall, 29 psychiatric beds in Alberta hospitals have been closed. And 3 people in Edmonton have tragically committed suicide recently because they could not access appropriate care. These cases demonstrate the desperate need for a 24-hour psychiatric crisis center in this province. My questions are to the Minister of Health. Given that the Minister has not allocated funding for such crisis centers, will the Minister now recognize the serious need for these centers and take immediate action to ensure that these centers will be available to people who are in desperate need of those services? Mr. Speaker, the honourable member is correct in that there's not special funding for the crisis center, an Edmonton Crisis Center proposal that I'd certainly reviewed very carefully. And in reviewing the priorities in the Department of Health as we work through the budgeting, along with the people in my department, I decided that rather than to dedicate the resources to that crisis center, that instead we needed to do some other things, including enhancing community mental health services and through the agencies to assist in the discharge of patients when they're coming out of an institution in the community, to continue to ask the provincial suicidologist in the Department of Health to develop training and information for emergency personnel in the general hospital emergency wards in order that they would know how to deal with the crisis psychiatric patient better. And thirdly, to bring together the community agencies, the government mental health agencies, and the various heads of psychiatry throughout the city in order that we could better coordinate the many services with respect to psychiatric service. I realize that the answer seems to often be that we name a problem and we add a program and we fund it. I simply am of the view that in this case there is a better answer, and that's the program I've just outlined to be put in place. Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, in the province, people that are experiencing a crisis have no place to go right now. And we've just mentioned that 29 psychiatric beds have been closed in the hospitals. And I would ask the Minister, will the Minister explain to the people of this province who are in desperate need of some crisis services where they should go for help on a 24-hour basis? Well, Mr. Speaker, there are certainly some psychiatric beds that have been closed. But quite frankly, we're dealing with psychiatry and with the need for mental health services a lot differently than we used to even 10 years ago. And we've had a lot of discussion in this House about the need to put more focus on the community and the actions that have been taken. And the reality is that in fact we are doing more things in the community, and we perhaps need less psychiatric beds as we work through. Nonetheless, to suggest that there is nothing there for people is in fact not the case. What we are trying to do is work within our existing system in terms of the emergencies where people may present themselves, prepare them for the psychiatric emergency better than they are now, and enhance the community side, which we are doing in this budget, as you will know, by a 13% increase on the mental health side of the Department of Health budget, the vast majority of which is going into enhanced community services.
Edmonton Whiteman.
Mr. Speaker, I am aware that the Minister of Municipal Affairs is seriously considering implementing a centralized approach to assessment. It appears to have some common thread with the Minister of Education's concept of corporate pooling. The feedback I have received is one of tremendous objection by municipalities throughout the province, and the fear is being expressed that the government may attempt to ram this concept down the throats of municipalities. My question to the Minister responsible for Municipal Affairs: will the Minister assure this House that he will not table applicable legislation until further discussions are held and until some agreement with municipalities is reached?
Mr. Speaker, I believe that's a very appropriate question, and certain one that the municipalities across this province would be very interested in. The Municipal Statutes Review Committee over the last 3-year period has been asked to review a number of concepts, and one of the concepts in that review is the concept of an assessment authority. They've looked at the program that's in British Columbia and other provinces for certain formats. This item was placed before the last spring meeting of the Alberta Municipal Districts and Counties Associations for their response. And I would have to say, Mr. Speaker, that I have been informed that they did not favor the concept at this point in time. As a government, we would use that directive as a very meaningful one, and there would be no intent in any way to proceed with that kind of legislation unless we had the approval of that body.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is the minister prepared to, in his consideration or in his review, prepared to give serious consideration to the possibility or to the concept of an opting out clause for those municipalities that may choose not to be part of such a scheme if such a scheme is implemented?
Mr. Speaker, I believe the question has answered itself, but we would have to accept the first assumption that we would move ahead with that authority. At the moment, there's no intention to do it, and we will not do it until we get direction from the local authorities.
Lester Slave Lake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question this afternoon is to the Minister of Labour. Sorry. The employment situation in Slave Lake has suffered major blows in the last month. In early March, Wellstrand, Division of Canada, decided to close the Wellstrand plant in Slave Lake, putting 112 employees out of work and seriously affecting many others in the independent sawmill business and local service sectors. It is my understanding that negotiations between the province and Ziegler workers of Slave Lake area have just fallen through. Again, another serious blow to the Slave Lake area. Can the minister please inform the House the status of these negotiations?
Mr. Speaker, I can indeed. The management and union involved in the Ziegler talks have met 4 times since December of 1990. Unfortunately, those talks have stalled. I have been encouraging both sides to get back to the table. The union appears to be ready, willing, and able to do so.
You're now going to give to the supplementary from Lester Slave Lake.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to hear that the minister is going to be doing something which I feel we have to do as quickly as we can. However, I think that in order for us to be able to resolve this as quickly as we can, that we have to work together, and so would like to ask the Honourable Minister of Labour, will you please meet with the Slave Lake Mayor, Peter Moore, and myself, as representatives of the people of the area, and Ziegler representatives to further open the lines of communication on this matter in an effort to reopen the negotiation process and bring this situation to a mutually acceptable conclusion.
Mr. Speaker, I would be more than pleased to meet with the mayor and the honourable member representing that constituency, and I would be more than happy to meet and include in that representatives of the union and of management of Ziegler, if the latter would come.
Thank you. You're not recognized, honourable member. Before we deal with the various procedural items, might we revert briefly to the introduction of special guests? Thank you. First, Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity, but my former colleague, Mr. Keith Everett, has left, and it was my intent to introduce him.
Constituency did he represent, Honourable Minister? Which constituency was he for?
Albert?
That's right.
Mr. Speaker, Westlock Sturgeon was the name of the constituency.
How appropriate. Minister of Energy, please.
Well, I have the opposite problem, Mr. Speaker. I introduced my group when they weren't here. So now that they are here, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to introduce them to you. There's a group from, this is the second group this week, from Dr. Egbert Community School. And there are 78 of them. They're accompanied by teachers Harvey Leong, Bev Dreschler, Nikki Langridge, and Roy Harker. And they're with parents Mrs. Obelman and Mrs. Chinook. I'd ask them to rise and receive the traditional warm welcome of the Assembly.
Point of order, Edmonton Jasper Place.
Mr. Speaker, in question period, I posed a question to the Minister of Economic Development and Trade with regard to loan guarantees in the pulp and paper industry. There was an answer that came back that dealt with a number of food service companies and a few others that I think that he mentioned. I'd just like to draw the attention of the Chair, Beauchesne 417. While it's recognized the Minister does not have to respond to a question, it says, answers to questions should be as brief as possible, deal with the matter raised, and should not provoke debate. And I believe the answer was not brief, dealt with anything but the question raised, certainly provoked debate, for which I was duly admonished by the Chair.
Brief word on the point of order. Had the honourable member not included in the prefix of his question the items they dealt with in a news release yesterday, I wouldn't have responded to the news release. But he indicated it. He indicated a number of loan guarantees that we were involved in, so I thought it only appropriate that we refer to a reference that he originally made.
Thank you, honourable members. The Chair is pleased to note that both members are going to now abide by the exact letter of the law with respect to preambles and questions, supplementaries, and answers. Perhaps there is indeed the possibility of a new kingdom of heaven on earth after all. Now, we're going to deal next with the matter of privilege, which was raised yesterday, but first I'll allow the galleries to carry on. Yesterday, the honourable member for Edmonton Highlands raised a purported point of privilege relating to the chairman's recognition of the member for Calgary Forest Lawn in Committee of Supply on the evening of April the 9th. In essence, the member for Edmonton Highlands complained that the chairman's failure to allow the member for Calgary Forest Lawn to speak, as he was the only member standing at the time, breached the privileges of the member for Calgary Forest Lawn by impairing that member in execution of his parliamentary functions. The Chair reviewed Hansard and spoke to the Chairman, Deputy Chairman, and Acting Chairman of committees in order to determine what transpired that evening. There was debate on the estimates, with various participants speaking as per the list provided. There were also two procedural motions introduced, with various members speaking to these motions. At one point, a heated exchange took place between the Chairman and the member for Edmonton Highlands. Although the member for Calgary Forest Lawn was standing, the Chairman recognized, per the speaking list provided, the member for Ponoka-Rimbey. As the member for Ponoka-Rimbey was not in the House at that moment, the Chairman recognized, as is the custom, the Minister of Advanced Education in reply to the member for Calgary-McKnight. The member for Ponoka-Rimbey was then recognized, followed by the member for Calgary Forest Lawn, who then spoke. The Chair would direct all members to the fact that privilege is a very serious matter involving, in the case of an individual member, that member's ability to function independent of any outside interference. What happened in Committee of Supply appears to the Chair to have been contained within the committee itself, and was in reality a dispute between the chairman and certain members about speaking lists and rules of order for the functioning of the committee. In the course of the evening, the member for Calgary Forest Lawn was called upon by the chairman to speak shortly after the exchange with the member for Edmonton Highlands, and that member, namely the member for Calgary Forest Lawn, did speak. Therefore, it does not appear that the member for Calgary Forest Lawn was prevented in raising his concerns with regard to the estimates. The chair finds the member for Edmonton Highlands complaint to be one of order in the committee, on which the speaker cannot rule. Our standing order 62 subsection 3 states clearly that points of order raised in committee must be dealt with in committee. In accordance with Standing Order 15, no prima facie case of breach of privilege has been established because the member for Calgary Forest Lawn was only delayed from speaking rather than denied the right to speak, pursuant to the chairman's control of the list of speakers in debate. The chair wishes to further advise at Edmonton Highlands that although the notice on the point of privilege was received in accordance with Standing Order 15-2, namely the 2-hour notice before the House, it was partially defective in form. Standing Order 15-2 states, a member wishing to raise a question of privilege shall give a written notice containing a brief statement of the question to Mr. Speaker, and if practicable, to any person whose conduct may be called in question, at least 2 hours before the opening of the sitting, and before the orders of the day are called, shall call attention to the alleged breach of privilege and give a brief statement of the nature of the matter which follows the complaint. As the chair mentioned, this was only partially defective. Nevertheless, it was a point of order that should have been dealt with in committee. Thank you. Now, request Standing Order 40, member for Calgary Northwest. 30. Thank you very much. 30.
Yes, I believe all members have a copy of the motion. It has been distributed, Mr. Speaker, and I'll just read it once again. Be it resolved that the Legislative Assembly adjourn the ordinary business of the Assembly to discuss the urgent matter of the situation with regard to the announced closure of the Magnesium Company of Canada plant in southern Alberta and the need for an immediate moratorium on business subsidy programs until a complete independent review of the decision-making process of giving loans and guarantees is completed. And Mr. Speaker, speaking to the urgency of this particular issue, this morning we learned that the Government of Alberta moved in on the Magnesium Company of Canada. The proposal that we have from the government is that, in effect, as I understand it, is basically to mothball the plant, and the cost will be, according to this government news release, approximately $12 million on the guaranteed loan per 12-month period. Now, if that continues for an indefinite period, and again, there's no indication of a plan, there's no direction here, Mr. Speaker, and so it seems like we've already put $102.75 million into this particular venture. There's no plan that I heard in the announcement, no plan that I heard from the minister with respect to what is going to happen to this particular company. And Mr. Speaker, I'm even more concerned when I look at the budget document that was tabled only recently in the House. And from March 31st, 89 to March 31st, 1990, a growth of $800 million of loan guarantees, a staggering growth. From March 31st, 1990 to December 31st, 1990, another $500 million in loan guarantees. We have repeatedly on this side of the House asked for copies of the documents telling us what are the agreements. We can't get those, Mr. Speaker, and that is a great concern for us. We're concerned about where we've been in the past, and we only have to look at the record. Northern Steel, Ski Free Marine, GSR, Mirius Novotel et al. I think we can stop with that 5. And a particular concern, Mr. Speaker, and this is what I really want to get out, is where are we going down the road? There is a category here that's broadly classed as other $81 million worth of loan guarantees. And we have no indication from this government what is the plan, how are those approved, where are we going with it? Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Speaker, we have an immense risk right now of $102.75 million on the line. The minister assures us we're going to get something back, and I know he would like to say that we're going to get all $102 million back, but I don't believe that's going to be the case. I think we will get something back, but I'm not sure what.
And I'm wondering where we're going. I'm wondering where this government is going with MagCan and with the other $3 billion worth of loan guarantees that we've got. And it's imperative that we discuss this immediately.
Urgency of debate, Edmonton Kingsway, and then the Minister.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to speak to the urgency of this matter. This government promised as much as 2 years ago that it would get out of the loan guarantee business and quit messing around in the economy of Alberta. They claimed when they went into the '89 election that the economy of Alberta was strong now and that they could therefore back away. And yet we see that they continually keep in an ad hoc manner giving loan guarantees to all kinds of companies. The Magnesium Plant of Canada just being one of many. And I might add, Mr. Speaker, it's an election promise that the Premier made that was determined would go ahead so it would sound good. It was much like the pulp mill announcements that were just going to be so wonderful for this province and diversify the economy and show how strong and entrepreneurial this government was. And what it really amounts to is an incredible array of subsidized corporations operating in this province to force diversification on an economy that has failed miserably, Mr. Speaker. The number of failures, the minister loves very much when he's defending the government's economic programs to throw in things like the Farm Credit Stability Program. Well, let me point out that the Farm Credit Stability Program also has its failures, and we don't hear about them because we do it through the banks, and in fact, in many cases, tax dollars are used to help the banks take farmers' farms. And we don't hear the details on that. The student loans that the minister likes to throw in also have a higher failure rate than 3 to 5%. Mr. Speaker, we have a serious problem with this government. After 20 years, they've come to believe that these taxpayers' dollars are their dollars to buy their friends and to buy votes with as they please, and they have no respect for the taxpayers and the ordinary people of this province that carry the can when they have all these failures. And so it's time we had a full debate on this subject. Now, the leader of the opposition put out a document yesterday showing the number of failures in this ad hoc program. It shows something that the minister, the treasurer, said in this house some time ago to be quite true. When he brought in the Alberta Stock Savings Plan bill, I suggested some changes to it that might help to diversify the economy into the rural parts, the regional parts of this province. And he stood up and he said, the government cannot pick the winners and losers in the economy. And yet, what are they trying to do? And we've had an awful pile of losers. They can sure pick the losers, all right, their own friends, an incredible number of companies that are already on the downhill trend when they start putting money into it. And Mr. Speaker, I think a full debate on this topic would just be excellent at this stage of the game. It's urgent. They're wasting too much taxpayers' dollars for this to go on forever. We certainly are not going to get a balanced budget with this kind of economic performance out of the government.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, just on a point of order with respect to members' comments, refer to Standing Order 23 and specifically Standing Order 30, where it says very specifically that the member may briefly state the arguments in favor of the request for leave and may allow such debate as considers irrelevant to the question of urgency, not as to policy, Mr. Speaker. Clearly, Kingsway is out of order.
He was for most of his comments, correct?
Speaker, I want to indicate my thanks to the honourable member for Calgary Northwest for making the argument against urgency by referring to the budgetary paper, since we are presently debating the budget and he'll have every opportunity to discuss these issues if he so wishes. But let me go through a number of reasons, not only one of which was the budgetary process of which the honourable member who introduced this motion endorsed, thus speaking against his own motion. But I also contend, as he does, that there is no urgency. If the honourable leader of the Liberal Party wishes to participate in the debate, why doesn't he stand on his feet? Because he's...
Order, please. Minister. The minister is indeed correct, honourable member. Standing Order 13, take a look at it. Minister, please.
But just getting back to my arguments as to why there is no urgency, Mr. Speaker, number one, this decision was a company decision. Number two, there's assets of some $200 million within the company itself. Our exposure through a loan guarantee is for slightly less than $103 million, giving us a 2-to-1 coverage. The honourable member suggests in his motion that we discuss the entire area of loan guarantees and government programs. Again, I come back to my original contention, that is the purpose of our budgetary discussions. He will also have opportunities in public accounts to discuss this, thus again disqualifying his contention that it is a matter of urgency. I share with him too, since members took such considerable liberty in dealing with this issue, I encourage once again, as I did in question period, for all members to refer to a superb document that my colleague put out highlighting the 1,200 high technology jobs that are within this province, creating jobs for Albertans so that we can maintain a strong economy in the province of Alberta. With those few thoughts, Mr. Speaker, I share with you, sir, that we don't believe that there is any urgency whatsoever to the proposition that is being advocated by the honourable member for Calgary Northwest. In fact, by his comments, he also agrees with our proposition.
The member for Calgary Northwest has indeed brought forward to the Assembly this particular motion, and it's interesting to note that it has two interrelated aspects, the whole matter of the question on the business subsidy programs, but also deals with the Magnesium Company of Canada plant. There might have been some aspects of urgency whereby the chair might have been convinced on the matter with the Magnesium Company, had that matter not been raised in question period today. However, the Leader of the Opposition took that as his lead-off question, so there were three questions we heard there. Also, the matter, it was raised by the Leader of the Liberal Party in terms of referencing in preamble, and then the member for Highwood had his question in supplementary dealing with the whole issue. The matter of the business subsidy programs has certainly been a matter of spirited discussion within question period throughout the last week or so. It is also appropriate to point out that the budget debate continues tomorrow. There are opportunities there for members of the House to raise the issues there, and also the estimates of the Department of Economic Development and Trade will be before the House within a few days. Therefore, with respect to Standing Order 30, the matter fails the test of urgency. Orders of the day.
Written questions.